is Manar Elamin, CEO of Rizek Egypt. I'm glad and honored actually to be here with you today to discuss this panel with our esteemed panelists, Dina, Hoda, and Sara, discussing a topic that's been the subject of global goals discussion and debates for many decades, and definitely a topic where my passion lies. Let me start the discussion with one of the biggest obstacles women face on the senior leadership. Despite modest progress, women are still dramatically underrepresented in leadership. And unfortunately, women leaders are overworked and under-recognized, as Sara spoke already. Over the past 2.5 years, all of the advancement the female leaders have made slid backwards in the wake of COVID. The pandemic disproportionately affected women as it substantially increased the need for hands-on care at home, with women leaving their jobs and drive to look after their families. I'll start with Dina, please. Women's participation in the workforce in this Arab region has decreased by 4.1% as the effect of the pandemic, while men's only decreased by 1.8%. What do you think are the biggest obstacles when it comes to women from MENA choosing careers in the tech sector?
Well, first, thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone that stayed to the last session. I know you're probably hungry, so thank you for having me. And when we're saying that the number of women are decreased or pretty low, we have to start with what are we teaching kids? What are we teaching women in such a pretty young age? What are we teaching them what they're capable of? And what parents are doing in the home. So we start with the home, how we're raising that generation of women. Are they capable of doing anything? Are we putting limits to what they can do and what they can achieve? And what we're teaching them to what they can get to in the workforce. By that, if we're talking about the MENA region, I see a lot of problems with the parents teaching kids that engineering is not for girls, like you should be a doctor, the guy should be an engineer. And I had that problem myself. Both my parents are Egyptian, even though I grew up between New York and here. I had to fight to be an engineer. And recently, and that was 13, 14 years ago, recently I got a message from one of the girls on Instagram saying that she really wants to be an engineer, but her parents are saying no, like you can't be. And that's a big problem in the MENA region. We have to show girls what they're capable of. We have to show girls that job you can do yourself and you can be successful, and show other examples of successful women in engineering and STEM.
So we need to raise them in a community where girls can know that they have opportunities and not only obstacles.
Right.
So you're so right. Hoda, from your experience, how do you see that the diversity in the workplace works?
Okay, so I work for a multinational company, not for an entrepreneur or startup. So things are a little bit different in the way we work. So there's a big focus on hiring women, on promoting women to leadership roles, and I think this is basically part of all the multinationals who are publicly traded. So they absolutely have to have women in leadership. Most of the companies have put KPIs, and they are attracting young talents and putting them in special programs towards that. Still, we have not reached the level where we would like to be. However, it really depends on the leaders in the specific positions, whether they have the right mix, whether they attract the right talent to the workplace or not, and whether they motivate them as well to push them to leadership positions. Nobody is born to be a leader, except if there are maybe some really few cases where you find a kid starting to think about opening their own business and doing that. But so just putting a mix of experience plus training plus shadowing, I think this is the way to bridge this gap.
I totally agree with you. As per all the discussions we had earlier, like now 87 women out of each 100 men only promoted. So women are getting hired but not promoted, and only 10% out of these are like in the CEO level or the CE suite. So I totally agree with you. Sarah, let me take it from there with you. From your experience, what's the obstacles which women face in the tech industry?
Can I say something that will bother a lot of women here? Men are not the reason this is a man's world. Women are the reason this is a man's world. Because who raises these men? Women. I sit with a lot of my friends and they have daughters sometimes and it drives me crazy. She goes to her daughter, when you grow up, you're going to be a princess. A rich man is going to marry you. You don't have to work. He's going to take care of you.
I don't know any of these.
Yeah, but her son listens to this and the daughter listens to this. Of course, it comes from a place of love, but that's destroying everything, every ounce of ambition in that woman. So no matter how open your country is and how supportive they are of women, if the message is broken at home, like you said, it's broken. So for me, gender was never an issue for me. And gender will only be an issue for you if you find your gender an issue. A lot of women think that they have to be masculine because if they're feminine, men will perceive them as pretty, dumb, beautiful. She can't do it. So they go into their masculine, which destroys everything about them because your power is in your femininity. Now that's one thing. I know that once a woman sits on a high seat in a position in, let's say, government, private sector, in a company, whatever, I know you worked so hard to reach that seat. And I know you're scared that it might be taken away from you because men made it this way for us. But that's not an excuse for you not to open the doors for other women to be part of what you're doing. Because we're insecure about where we reach because it was hard and we're continuously proving ourselves, but we should not close that opportunity for other women to come because they're not our competition. So that's how I see it.
You're right. Okay, but let me say something here, that as per the recent McKinsey report on gender equality, it stated that if the current employment trend continue, the global GDP growth is expected to decrease by as much as $1 trillion by 2030. And this surprisingly means that the women's labor force participation just hit where it was back in 1988. Let me ask you, Hoda, about this. How are you and SAP trying to face this? How can you retain women there?
First of all, we're having some specific programs to attract women and basically scout women from outside in the very early age. So we look at the talents. When I hire, I don't hire a person based on their technical skills. I hire people based on their attitude, the way they think, the way they add to the place, whether they have positive energy or not. So I interview, it might sound crazy, to everyone who's customer facing, I make sure that I interview this person because it adds to the brand and it adds to the image. I also try to mix young talent with experienced people. So when I was, for instance, managing director for Egypt and frontier countries, first of all, the first thing that I've done is that I hired a successor because I want to grow. And I hire people normally who are much more stronger than me. And then I mix this with people who are very young talent, who bring the energy, who understand the market, who understand the requirements of the customers. Because in the regions where we live, 60% of the population is a young population. So we really need to understand what the customers are thinking of, how do they perceive things. And this is basically what's doing that. And then I lead something called Businesswomen Network, which also the company does, and Businesswomen Network help women grow. But at the same time, I make it very vocal that do not be part of a KPI. I do not support women to go into a leadership position just to fulfill a KPI. Because the moment you do this, you alienate women. You do not add to the workplace because men, you have to be also equal in the way you treat everyone, right? I would not put someone in a leadership position just to make sure that I fulfill a KPI. No, I will train them, I will promote them based on merit. And this is how I do it.
Amazing. Okay, Dina, let me ask you, how do you do it in Microsoft? Can you tell me more about it?
Sure, so I'll talk about Microsoft and a lot of the different tech companies. But for any company to improve it, they have to understand and really research like where we are. Where is the gaps? where we're missing, how is our numbers, what's the culture like, and understand like really where is the company stand in order for you to like build on top of it. And for Microsoft and all of the different tech companies, they start with the education first. And as I said, like, and as Sarah said too, like starting younger, teaching girls, going to schools, like we want to hire more women. We want to go to school. We want to be involved in their classes, robotics, go to different schools where we want to hire women, look for people that we want qualified and people that we want to hire, bring into the company, and even as early as high school. Microsoft brings people as an intern early in high school and just bring them, develop them in the company, understand like what technology we're developing, what are we doing, and then empower them. So there are two different things. We want to attract talents, but we also want to attract the talent, and we also want to retain the people. So attracting talents, companies go into the universities and hire people that we think is worth being at the company. But once we have them, how are we going to retain them? What are they interested in? What they bring into the company? How that we can grow them, we can sponsorship them, we can mentor them, we have different trainings, how we can empower those women to be at leadership positions.
Got you. I think we are the real example of all what we're discussing because we have lived this. So like talking about our own experience is the real matter here. So Sarah, you tell me, how do you see like the inclusion of women have evolved for the last 2 years, if I may say it?
The thing is, it's evolving, but is it fast enough? I don't understand, because my religious background is I'm a Muslim, yeah? And I remember the stories about the Prophet. They said the Prophet was younger than his wife, worked for his wife, she was the owner of the business, and he was not embarrassed of that. He was praising her for being smart. And now that I look at life now, I'm like, are we moving backwards or are we moving forward? Yes, you know, so it's just crazy. But I see a difference. But it all comes back to the message at home.
The reason.
Okay, that's the main reason. And then teaching women who have already been marinated in the culture and they think they have limits and all that, teaching them to break free from that stereotype so they can discover themselves.
Yeah, I think it's our job to break those stereotypes.
Yeah, so for me, I hate the word women empowerment. Oh my God, it gets to my nerves when they say women empowerment. It's like, what?
We don't need that, yeah?
I never saw a bunch of men holding hands saying men empowerment. It's because it'll be weird, first of all. Yeah. And second of all, it's because they know they have the power. We don't need to beg for something we already have. Yeah. We just need to figure it out. And I think every woman who's successful should be an inspiration story to all the women out there. Not to empower them, but to inspire them. Because a woman would do only if she knew she could. And your job is to show her and to let her know that she could.
Yeah, and
not to empower her.
Exactly. Yeah, not to adhere to the norms or codes set by men. So it's definitely on us to do this. And we can all participate in doing this.
Women and men complete each other. They don't compete with each other. And I understand men came from a place where they were burying daughters and women were hiding and covered and all that, to right now women being bosses and self-sufficient. I get the confusion that the men are going through. But this world will not change until women raise their kids differently and men understand and come to a peace that a woman completes you. She doesn't compete with you.
Yeah, at least to create a clear path.
That's it.
Yeah, got you. Hoda.
Actually, I will talk about another angle. Okay, when you go to multinationals, you have to have women empowerment. And I will tell you why. Because when you run your business, you can do whatever you want. When you go in multinationals, it's very tough in there. And you have to work
Define
smart.
Empowerment.
Empowerment as, first of all, to give them an opportunity. Because you can go, you can talk, people will interrupt you, they will cut you, and they will not believe that you would be able to run, for instance, a tech company. Just to give you an example, okay? I was the first woman to be hired as a managing director for software company, multinational software company in Egypt and frontier countries. In fact, for SAP, I was the first across Middle East and Africa. Okay, so it's not an easy thing. And by the way, when they sent me to Egypt, because Egypt was not performing well, so it was a safe bet. So they were assessing whether they should close the business or invest more. I went in, again, as I said, I hired people who are stronger than mine. That's the recipe. Get people, don't be afraid to hire a successor immediately. This is how you grow. I hired the successor immediately. I hired people who are stronger than mine. There was a cause. There was a vision. I'm doing this for 1, 2, 3. And I operated as a startup inside a multinational. Only then I got a place at the table. You don't just get a place at the table by default, by the way. And when I grew up to be gender blind, I was one of the daughters with three. I had 2 other sisters. So there was no difference between men and women, although my father is Saidi from Egypt. Yeah, so we come from a specific background. I'm a conservative person, but I never felt that there is a difference between a man and a woman because I was raised in a mixed school. But when I went back, being outside of Egypt for 15 years, I discovered in some of the pictures that we got initially that I was the only woman in the picture. Yeah, and then I started to say, no, this had to change. So I started to hire women, and then we reached a 50% mix between men and women.
And yet till now, it's only 30% of the tech companies are women.
But that's you believing in women, giving an opportunity, not empowering. Because when you give a man an opportunity, you're not saying, I empowered him. Every cell in your body has a membrane. Every particle of your body listens to everything you say. And if you tell a woman empower, that means giving her the power to believe she can achieve. I don't think so. You believed in women. You opened the door.
But
you
trust
served.
me, there are other leaders who do not believe.
But you did.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I'm not representing the whole company. I'm not talking about my company. There are other leaders who do not believe in women.
Okay, Dina.
I feel that I agree with the 2 of them. Sarah is more of the future, but like right now there's so much that we need to do. So we need women empowerment right now. I hope that one day in the world we would not need that word empowerment.
Unfortunately,
but
now we
right
need
now
to work harder than smarter.
We absolutely do.
Till we change those stereotypes, at least. So yeah.
I hope we get to a point where we don't need that.
Definitely we can. It's on us to do it. So definitely we'll do it.
The point is change the word because it's a little bit like makes women feel like they ain't got no power.
This is why we're shining light here in women in tech and not on the women empowerment thing. So we're totally aligned here. Thank you so much, ladies, for this. And I believe that it is on us again to change those stereotypes. And again, I think that we're able to do it, definitely, together.
Can we thank also Forbes Middle East for hosting this?
Thank you.
Yes.
And Khulud behind it all.
Thank
so
you
like
so much.
we have the women
Thank
here.
you for the women behind it all.
She believed of the topic since I told her, so let's do women in tech. She said, let's do it immediately. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sure, please.
Actually, for the past 2 days, we've seen a lot of questions. I never asked one. Is it okay if I ask a question?
Sure.
Actually, it's more of a reminder. A long time ago, I hosted Sarah in an interview, and one of the things that we spoke about was precisely women empowerment. And I remember back then you said that you didn't like the phrase women empowerment because it suggested that women were weak, when indeed they are not. And so I just wanted to bring that up, and that's something that always resonated with me, because I couldn't agree with it more. I don't think women are weak, and I definitely agree with that when I go home. I mean, we were raised in a household of 4 men and my mom, and you should see how terrified we all are if she's in a bad mood. I'm not joking. So to suggest that somebody like my mom needs to be empowered any further, Allah yastur yani. But anyways, anybody has a question? Okay.
So I'm going to speak to some of what's going on. I've witnessed some of what you guys are describing. My own sister, she was being taken advantage of by her husband and business partner, who she founded a business and he took 75%. And I told her, leave, create your own business, keep 100% of it. And then he ran after her, said, you can have 50%. And so, first of all, you have to stand up for yourself. Don't let anyone take advantage of you. That's the first thing. The second thing is, don't get involved with people that don't have morals. When we were at Hotels.com, the founders basically all had one problem. We hired a lady, you can Google her. Her name is Cheryl Rosner. She was our CMO. Every wife of every founder stopped talking to us for more than a month because we hired Cheryl. Cheryl wore very tight clothes. She had her own style.
Oh God.
But she was amazing at what she did. She was the best at what she did.
Is there a question here, or it's just a story?
It's a story. So I'm just saying that ultimately women can fight women's success, and people who have principles, they're willing to go to bat for you. Those are the people you want to identify, because that's how you empower yourself more than others empowering you.
Thank you so much.
I told you, women are the problem.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I go to Heritage International School. I just wanted to ask you a question about what advice would you give to women who are entering the tech field, especially in the MENA region, where like women, I know it's happening, but still there's many gender things that's happening.
To be honest, most of my companies are tech. The thing is, I am right now searching for women to hire them for my tech company. I have an entertainment tech company, and one of the owners of the company is Jason Derulo. So we are looking for women, and we can't find because they're too... Okay. Because it's so hard to find. But I believe that men made the tech world seem like it's a man's world. But I was doing a talk a while ago on Thaddeus's event, and I was telling him, he told me, why did you start a tech company? I said, because I attended a tech conference, and the guy on stage said, tech is not for women. And I got so pissed off, and I got so upset, and I was like, I'm going to start a tech company. And guess what? I hired him. Yeah. So I'm telling you, you know why? Because I don't believe my gender is an issue. I believe my femininity is my power. That's what gets me to places. That's what makes things happen. Me being a woman is not an issue. So you need to first erase that part so you can work in different fields. You don't have to just open a salon or open a cupcake shop just because you're a woman. You can be anything you want to be, but we've been programmed not to. So you need to erase that, unlearn that, and then believe you can be anything you want. Plus, don't you realize men are better hairstylists than women? But I swear to God, men do better at women's jobs and women do better at men's jobs, because we are not meant to be cornered in an industry just because I'm a female. And you should never settle for that.
Just believe in yourself, work on yourself, just work hard on whatever you believe in, and that's it. Just forget about the gender, do whatever you have to do, and sleep at night knowing that you have done your best, and that's it.
Yes, and adding on to that, in my classes, I teach electrical and computer engineering classes, and I see girls not knowing their power and not owning it. Like when I have a presentation or a project, they're always like hiding. I know there are only few women in the class, but they're always like hiding. Did I do it right? Did I got it right? And like always asking for people to like tell them, yeah, you're validating me. No, I want you to own it. Know your power and own that power. You're capable of doing it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Work on your brand, okay, from day one. Work on your brand, put a plan for yourself, go after it, and deliver on every word that you promise to do. So this is how people would respect you, and then you will gain a seat at the table.
Yeah, can I ask a question? Yeah. Hi, my name is Adil Hatahit, and as you are all four ladies on the stage, I feel that someone had to speak up for the men.
I've been defending men the whole time.
Yeah, you did actually, but I wanted just to point out something that really, after discussing this kind of topics, it's very important to have women empowerment, as you were discussing. Like, it's very important to have 50-50 in big corporates. But honestly, I feel that on the long term, maybe we're having some risk we feel that we at some point we're going to reach a moment where we need maybe men empowerment, and this is causing a big please, but just let me continue. I feel that the balance is very important, and it's making so many men that I know are feeling a bit insecure of maybe getting into work or getting into high positions or maybe getting into a marriage sometimes. Because it's not really, this is true.
It's true, yeah.
Because they are getting afraid of this crazy and huge support for women empowerment, and they feel that if they make any small mistake, there's gonna be like, a crazy attack on them for that mistake, but no one is supporting them. What can we do about that?
Do you know the amount of effort do we need to put to be sitting here today? So like you work 7 or 8 hours a day, we work the same amount of hours, but we raise kids, we work on ourselves, we take care of our families, we take care of our husbands' families. No. Then let's balance in the kids care thing. Let's balance in the homing and care thing. Yeah. Let's have the equality in everything. Yeah.
All right.
I love how men sometimes want to be alphas, but in certain situations they're like, we can be equal there. It's you cannot. Look, it's impossible to be equal with things, and I know what I can do, you know what you can do, I know what I can't, and you know what you can do. That's why I'm saying the only way to change the narrative is not to make women fight for everything they do to prove themselves. Make it easier for us to be equal as you. That's it. Because we complete you. That's simple as that.
All right, guys, can we take one more question? Okay, go ahead.
Last thing, I feel like when you're saying, like your whole question, we're not saying women empowerment to take the power of a man. We're just saying that we want to be equal, we want to give them the opportunity, but we're not, because we're given or empowering when we're not taking the power from the other.
All right, we'll take one last question here.
Hello, I'm Anna. I work for WISE. I have a question, maybe specifically, I'd be curious to hear from you, Hoda. So actually, this is a good segue into this. So when we're working on these topics, I think particularly in multinational companies, I think it could be useful to also have male allies. What are your thoughts on that? How do you work with men who are really passionate about, elevating women, let's say? And I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, especially because, you're in a senior position at a very big multinational company.
Thank you so much for the question, but I would like just to comment on the question first. I actually can relate to what you're saying for one specific thing. Again, multinationals have not yet reached the equality limit that would allow them to be favorable when trading on the stock exchanges, which is making the opportunities for women to come in higher than a man. Even, when you look at the hiring, they will tell you there is a preference for a woman. Yeah, and that's why it's very important for the leader to make clear that there is no promotion. No one will be hired just based on gender. This is something that the leader himself has to reiterate so that people don't feel that they are entitled for a role. And this is how I deal with my team. So for instance, I would tell them very clearly in the Businesswomen Network, which is only for promoting women, that please be grounded, always be humble, and don't feel entitled, because you will not be promoted for a role just to fulfill a KPI. And at all times, there has to be equality between men and women, and the promotion or the getting the role would be only based on merit. The moment you set those principles, just forget about the pressure that you're having to fulfill specific KPIs. People will be encouraged to work, and then you will find everyone really giving a helping hand to the other, or else it would be a fight. And this is, I think it's a duty for the leader to set the culture and make the principles very clear to everyone.
Right. Can you wrap it up?
Yeah. Thank you so much for this, and I really enjoyed this actually. Thank you.